Hi,
Hey, Felicity.
good morning. How are you?
I'm really good. How are you doing? Are you all right?
Well, like I said to you, I come on and I feel like I've got the beginnings of a migraine, but hopefully this
Oh,
conversation will, refocus me, and hopefully I'll feel better by the end of it, rather than indulging myself a bit. Oh, I feel poorly. I'll go back to the land of the duvet. So here we are
oh,
today, having our Crossroads Cafe.
yeah. How's your week been? You've had a bit of a busy week though, haven't you? So give yourself a bit of a break.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I think that's the thing, isn't it? I've just seen a really great podcast again by Brené Brown, and she's talking
Yes.
about how we manage stress, and of course, continuing in the pandemic at the moment, the stress is just crazy. Even if we don't
Yes.
think it is the new normal to be stressed. So it's about how we manage that, isn't it? And I think we said before we came on air, one of the big things to help me manage the stress is my tribe, the people that I know have got my back, that I can
Yeah.
speak to. So
Yeah.
like today I come on and you were so sweet and said, well, don't do it, if you don't feel up to it. And I'm like, no, we're doing this together.
Yeah.
We love
Yeah.
doing this. I hope it brings value to people, but just having your support is really lovely.
Yeah, totally. And I think that's like, you're right. You can have a conversation with one person, literally wake up in the morning, have a conversation. It can be a relative, a friend. Um, and if their energy's low and if they're stressing and if they're uh, feeling, if there's quite a bit of negativity, you take that on, even if you really try not to, and you try to sort of be supportive and you try to be positive, you still take that on. And that can really have a impact on how we perform. It can have an impact on how our day rolls, plays out. So
Totally.
you're right. It's really important that we surround ourselves with the right people, and that's what we came on to talk about today: the power of your peer group, so the community that you're in, the people that you've got around you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the lovely, your tribe, the lovely Jim Rohn. Do you know about Jim Rohn? Do you follow Jim Rohn?
I don't follow him much. I know who he is. I've seen.
Yeah, so Jim Rohn, he's someone that I've been listening to. I started listening to him, oh my goodness, 2 or 3 years ago. I just went on to, I love watching motivational videos on YouTube, and I went on to YouTube, and I don't know if I Google, I typed in motivational videos or something, but he used to come up, and just his stories, and his insight and his wisdom into the world of, him being an entrepreneur, and being a very successful entrepreneur,
Mm.
and just, yeah, his insight and his wisdom and his stories. And I thought, this guy just gets it.
Yeah.
And he has a quote. He says, you are the average of the 5 people you spend most of your time with. So if you're spending your time with people that are sort of haven't got the same vision as you have, maybe haven't got the same faith, and I don't mean that as religious faith, but faith as in you can achieve what,
Passion,
passion, yeah, drive,
motivation.
then there's a good chance if you set yourself a goal,
Mm.
you may not achieve it.
Yeah, totally. It's
Um,
it's really important. We know, don't we? If you put it in the kind of metaphor that we use a lot around sporting, around weight loss and things like that. So if you
mm,
really really determine that you're going to lose weight, then you need to not hang around people that are eating cakes and donuts, and who are really not worried about their health, and their weight. So because it's far too easy. Everybody loves a bit of chocolate cake, don't they? And if I'm
of
sitting around
course we do.
eating chocolate cake all day, my willpower is just like, no, I'm just gonna. I can start tomorrow. It's fine. And it's the same thing, I think, when
Yeah,
you want to, either start a business or change your life in any way, really, you need to be around people that get that. Now, that's not to say you cut yourself off from your friends either, but you just have to understand, what if you want to get good in one area, you need to be around those people, just as you've said, who are good at it or want
yeah,
the same thing, and then maybe limit the influence of people that just don't get it. I mean, I think we've talked about this, I think, in an earlier episode. Being an entrepreneur, most people are employed and they don't get it. They're like, oh, all the risk, all the, you know, who's going to pay my salary, blah, blah, blah. But those of us who've taken the plunge, we know, even though it's scary at times, it's just, you wouldn't do anything else, would you? I wouldn't ever want to go back and work for anybody else now.
No, no.
You need to be around other entrepreneurs as well to be able to support you and who get what you're doing.
Definitely. It's finding those role models, isn't it? And those people that you sort of look up to. And they don't have to be people that you know, but people that you look up to and sort of aspire to be like.
Yeah.
And then look at how they've got to that place, how they've achieved that. And all of them will tell you it's the people, you know, a big part of it is the people that they've surrounded themselves with. So I've got here, you have to have a willingness to learn and make sure you're learning from the right people.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, you know, one of the great things about that's come out of the pandemic is that people are much more open to stuff online now. And, you know, lots of, you know, there's great opportunities, lots of free learning out there. So there's lots for us to be able to take advantage of and to grow and, you know, explore new areas without it being hugely costly. But you're so right, Emma. I think it's so important to do your due diligence and kind of research who you're going to get, whose work you're going to do, even if it's free stuff, because, you know, it's the investment of your time and energy, isn't it?
Yeah.
And, of course, you know, we've all learned to be quite, you know, world-renowned speaker, blah 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 blah, you know, all the high kind of rah marketing and promotion. You know, anybody can write an ad, and if you've spoken once in another country, then you can probably call yourself an international speaker, but it doesn't mean you're someone who's been on the circuit for 20 years and who's, you know, it doesn't have to be 20 years, of course, but yeah, just look at whose work you're kind of getting involved with and making sure that it's quality. And for me, it's really important that the person who I'm learning from is walking their talk as well.
Yeah, totally. They change your attitude, don't they, and everything. If you're around the right people, your attitude changes. We've even said before, your energy changes. You know, you can feel so much more confident. You could have a conversation with someone that's, you know, part of your tribe, that when you put the phone down, you then move on and you do something, you take action towards that next thing. So it's so important that you know that you do have the right people around you.
Definitely.
You've got to get rid of those negative Nellies.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it can be tricky because I think I said it before, you know, with my mum when I started the business and, you know, it's doing well and I was earning good money, and she's a totally different generation. And in fact, she was, you know, an older mother. So she was more really like a grandmother's age. And she'd be like, oh no, when are you going to get yourself a job? Because she just didn't get it, you know. And I had to be, you know, quite a while where I was trying to convince her that it was a good thing, and in the end she's not going to get it. So I just said, you know, don't worry about it, Mum, I'm doing fine. And then I'd move the conversation on somewhere else, because you're never going to be able to convince people, you know, not everybody, and you know, you shouldn't have to. I think one of the things which is great, you know, to be around a peer group where you can learn from their experiences. You know, I had a friend years ago who was quite an unconventional lady. She was Queen of Burlesque and had been dancing burlesque for years. And one of the things she said, you know, which is quite controversial really, isn't it? Get your boobs out for a living.
Yeah, that's it.
She said you would worry far less about what people think about you when you realise how little they do. And I think that's one of the things is, you know I do what I love. Yeah, it's not always easy, but because I'm surrounded by people that are of the same mindset, it just makes it a lot more, well, easier, because I don't have to keep explaining myself to people all the time.
No, totally. As well, I think you have to be open to learning, don't you? It all comes down to the mindset completely, but you do have to be open to learning, because that's what happen. You know, if you're in the right community, we don't know everything, do we? We don't know everything. We're always learning. So you have to be open to that, open to learning new skills. And I know for me, that's how I feel I've scaled what I'm doing, through conversations that I've had with you, through maybe something that you might have said to me where I've gone, okay, I could try that, and it's moved the needle a bit closer to where it is I want to go. Or through being in a community, or going to a seminar and someone saying something and me coming away and going, oh, I can work on that, I can build it into this.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
because that's what we're looking to do, isn't it? We're especially women that are listening to this, they're starting up business, they want to grow their business, they want to scale their business. Aside from getting really clear on what that looks like, you do need to be able to, you need to put yourself in and amongst the people that are going to help you get to where it is you're going to want to go, because you can't do it all yourself.
No,
you can't.
Definitely. And I think it's really important, if you're part of a community, whether it's a personal development community, whether it's a business community, you do bounce ideas off each other, you learn from other people's, grazed knees, all of those things, and it can be very encouraging, because I think, I remember one of the things for me as well, when I first started out, I was investing in a lot of programs that were quite high end. Actually, it wasn't necessarily what I needed. I was investing, some of it was great, some of it I've invested quite a lot of money, and most of it I don't regret, but some of it was almost like knee-jerk. Oh, I need to do this so I can learn XYZ. But you can learn so much from a peer group. I think,
oh my goodness,
I jumped on a little networking meetup this week by Enterprise Nation, which is a really great incentive that's been set up to support entrepreneurs. And most of us think, networking will cringe, but it was really, really nice approach. Basically, it was just bringing together or providing the space for entrepreneurs who often work on their own, to come together and just chat informally. And then the lady that was facilitating it asked some what kind of tools do you use to support your online businesses, what's been a challenge for you this week, what are some of the goals that we can hold you accountable to, and what's some quick wins that people have had, small wins, whatever. And just even that conversation with the group, there were 16 people on it. It was really encouraging, because nobody was really like, hi, I'm an accountant and I want to take, people were just sharing themselves and their experiences, and that was really nice. And I think it's because there's so much competition in the market these days, you buy the people rather not necessarily the products. Obviously you want a high level product, but if you're comparing two companies that supply the same thing, you're going to go with the one that resonates with you, the one that you like. So it was really nice,
definitely,
of, like you say, coming together with a peer group. I'd never met any of those people, but I came away from that feeling encouraged, stimulated, got some good tools and tips. So again, it's great to have your little tribes in all kinds of different areas, particularly if you're starting up in business. It's really important to have other entrepreneurs.
And I think if you're a bit anxious or you feel a bit nervous at actually going out initially and maybe going to a networking event, or, which I don't know, with lockdown at the minute, well, with everything that's going on at the minute, I would imagine they're not necessarily going on. A lot of them probably are online. But you can go online. There's so many groups on Facebook that you could go on to, and that you can get involved in, that you can ask questions, you can read stories. There's so much available to you online that you can access without, just trying it out, seeing what you think. Because I think positivity definitely attracts, if you're positive, it attracts other positive people. Absolutely. Doesn't it?
Yes. Yeah, it's the reverse of the old phrase, misery loves company, which we know is true. And positivity loves positivity, to be able to spark off each other. I love it. Been involved in Tony Robbins community for a number of years, and just even getting to the events and seeing people, and it's like, yay, this is my tribe, these are people. I remember the very first time I went to one of Tony's events. He wasn't actually speaking, it was a well-crafted one. Gone
Yeah.
in, goes on, everybody starts dancing, and I'm like, oh my God,
What's going on?
what is going on here? And I kind of was like thinking, first half an hour, right? Am I in a nut house? But one of the girls that was next to me, who I didn't know at all, she just said, honey, you've got to be in it to win it. Come on, just let yourself go. And
No.
I've paid for this for 4 days. And that was it. I was just like, oh my God, because,
Yeah.
you know, I think we're worried and cautious about letting ourselves go and having a good time, and why shouldn't learning and personal development be fun? It doesn't always have to be like, oh my God, I'm at mile 25 of the marathon and I'm dragging myself. It is, I mean, it's so life enhancing anyway. It is fun.
It is, and it's being around those sorts of people, being around the people that the dreamers, isn't it? Being around the people that have the vision.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say, rather than sitting there and feeling like, oh, because that's what it's about. You know, you're going into this industry, you want to set up your own business, you've got to have vision. You want to be around other people that have got those bigger visions, or have even got bigger visions than you. So you keep, you know, your vision becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. That's really, really important. And that rubs off on you. Like you say, when you get in and amongst those people, initially you might go in and think, what the hell is all this about? But when you're around those people and they have got this vision, and you're open-minded, and you sort of let yourself go a little bit, you start to create the vision as well.
Totally. And what I love about that kind of community, and you know, Tony's not got the monopoly on that. We've talked about Jeff Walker's community in the past as well, is that people with a vision, you make sure that you're aligned with what, you know, their vision is. They're generous. These people are generous. They want to collaborate. They want to share their knowledge. And to me, that was really refreshing when I started my business, my first business, and coaching, and then moved into training, corporate training. It was such a strange, you know, people just in corporate really just didn't want to support you. You'd say to, you know, they'd come out of corporate environments, you know, trying to set up fees for training programs and ask people what they, you know, what's the, you know, what you would normally charge. People didn't want to tell you. No. And it's like, wow, this is such hard work. Everybody holding their cards so tightly to their chest. What does it matter if you tell me how much you charge?
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to get the clients that you're after, and you know, there's need to go around, and that's why I think I love being around people that are saying, okay, this is what I learned when I was at your stage of the business, and you know, this is what worked for me, this is what didn't work, and just being around that generosity, because it's a lot to, you know, like you were saying about learning and growing, it's a massive mindset, because as an entrepreneur, you've got to be managing your mindset the whole time. And we do have days where we're like, oh, really, I just really, Netflix? Really? Oh, yeah, let's Netflix and a big bar of chocolate. But, you know, you can't do that. You need to, or you can actually, and sometimes it's good to do it, but that can't be your priority.
No, you definitely need to prioritize. And I think you have to prioritize and make sure you know that if you're hanging around with negative people, you're not going to, if you're hanging around with the negative people, you can't live the positive life, can you? It just doesn't work.
Yeah, it's really nice.
So you have to, as hard as it can sometimes be, you have to pull back from those people that aren't supporting you or haven't got, like we say, the vision that you've got, and you have to find the people that do have the vision and that will offer you the support that you need. That's so important.
Yeah, definitely.
The whole world, doesn't it, that we live in a world that just focuses on the negative. It focuses on the negative, it focuses on the gossip.
It's dead on, isn't it? You know, all the news, a lot of the drama that's on television, like EastEnders and all of that, you know, I mean, it's just and it's very easy. A friend phoned me up yesterday and started talking about something that had happened in our town, and it wasn't anything that it was something that he wasn't very happy about. It wasn't anything that we could change. And you know, he's talking about it for quite, and I just was like, I'm not going to get involved in this, because it's a waste of time and energy, because there's nothing that can be done. I didn't necessarily agree with his perspective anyway. What's the point in being upset about something that we can't influence?
Totally.
The thing, isn't it? You put your energy and focus into where you can have a positive influence, and it's much more fulfilling, isn't it? When you
totally, definitely. And I think you accomplish so much more, don't you? You accomplish so much more. You have to.
It's just much more enjoyable, isn't it? And I don't know how much people on the who are listening kind of pay attention to their emotions, their moods. But you know what it's like if you've been on the phone with somebody who's a mood hoover, and you get off and you feel drained, you feel demotivated. I make it my business to be very aware of whether the people I'm around, enhance my energy and my mood, or whether I come away feeling ugh. And I'm not prepared to waste my energy, and that's not being like judging people or saying they're wrong and I'm right. It's not for me. And there's plenty of people, like you say, that will be happy to sit around and gossip, and it's just not my it's just not where I want to put my energy and my focus. I want my life to be rich and fulfilling and fun, and I know that when I focus it on the things where I can find a solution, where I can add value, where I can be creative, then my life is rich and I enjoy it. And that might sound really selfish. But it's my life.
That's it. Totally. Yeah, Tim Sanders, the Yoo-Hoo director, he said your network is your net worth. And at the end of the day, you're setting up your own business. There's many reasons why I'm sure you're doing that, but one of them is to earn an income, is to be able to afford to pay for your, pay to live on the planet. And they say that happy, positive people make 40% more than what negative people do.
Does it say why? Does it go into that?
There was an article in the Wall Street Journal. It just said that happy, positive people make 40% more than negative people. So we'll have to look into it. But
I would imagine that a lot of that is because if you're optimistic, you see opportunities.
And I suppose, you accomplish more.
Yeah. And I think if you're pessimistic, you're kind of looking for what's wrong, looking for danger, just what do you want to... Yeah, I love that. Your network is your net worth. Who you spend your time with. Yeah, really important.
So I've just got a question for you. When it comes to you finding your tribe, where did that start for you? How did you go about it? Or was it just a case of you found you were sort of pulled towards the people that made you feel good?
Yeah, well, that's interesting, because when I was before one of my many life vocation, I was long-haul cabin crew for British Airways, and I remember being in New York really early in the morning, New York time, wide awake, thinking, what am I going to do with myself? Shops aren't open, so put on the television and it's all the kind of infomercials. And there on the infomercial was Tony Robbins. The first time I'd seen him, and I was listening to him, because normally those infomercials are just such a load of nonsense. And I was listening to him and thinking, wow, this guy, what he's saying really makes sense. So from there, I bought his book, Awaken the Giant Within, and I loved the book. But I read it, and I felt like I was taking 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. I just get caught up in my old patterns of behavior, and I didn't have a peer group that was into personal development. So then when I broke up with my husband, and I was living in France, so I was very isolated. I was long-haul cabin crew, so I was commuting into work. And that's when I decided I needed to do, and it was actually because, to be completely frank, it was a very stressful situation, being very isolated, and even though we'd sold a property and I had quite a lot of money, the money was bleeding out of my account. So comfort shopping, new skis, new this, new that, whatever, because I lived in a ski resort. And I was aware of what I was doing, and I was worried about it. So I decided to do Wealth Mastery, Tony's event. And that was when I arrived, and that and I thought, where am I with all these people that are hugging each other and everything? I was just like, oh my God, I feel like I'm in a gospel church. And really it's from there, within that, you know, once I decided like you had to be in it to win it, I kind of thought, oh my God, this is the peer group I've been looking for. And I'm not quite as actively involved because I live in Margate now rather than London, but so many of the people I've met through doing that, because what Tony teaches is such good stuff, really valuable stuff, and the people that it's attracted, I've got some lifelong friends from that community, and people that have not spoken to for a couple of years, and I ring them up and it's just like, you know, we're speaking as though it was yesterday.
Yeah.
And even some of those people, if I rang them, if I was going through something challenging and I hadn't spoken to them and said, could you help me out? They'd get in the car, you know.
Yeah.
So that was my peer group there. And yeah.
And then you sort of just find your people, I suppose, because then you're then interacting and engaging in whether it's a webinar or whether it's a workshop, and it tends to be similar sort of people that have got the same values as what you've got, the same beliefs as what you've got. So it expands then, doesn't it? The community, and no different to us, how we met, which was through when you were doing some training for Sheer Sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was great because, you know, the Senegent's vision is very much about empowering women, isn't it? You know, empowering women, great quality products, great values, you know, environmentally friendly, good for the planet, supporting the community where the products, ingredients are sourced from, all of those things. So it was a pleasure to come and share. And really, really, you know, that kind of, what community do we want to create? How do we want to run our businesses? How do we want to look after our teams? Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, when you find people that are on the, you know, so it's like people that desire to grow, whether that's because you want to have a business for whatever lifestyle, you often find that your values are aligned, that you want to make a difference, you know, you want to live a life that's worthwhile, you want to have integrity, authenticity, you want to have fun, and it does attract people like that. It's interesting what you're saying about, you know, we have to be careful around how much time we spend with negative people. What you'll find, and that's something I found, is that, you know, sometimes previous friends won't want to spend time with you because you've changed and because you've grown and because you're not so interested in getting involved in the gossip and stuff anymore. So it's not like there has to be a radical, right, I'm cutting this relationship off. It naturally kind of falls away, doesn't it?
Because I think that can sometimes make you feel uncomfortable. Like if you're listening to this and you're thinking, oh God, I'm sure there could be 3 or 4 people that that come to mind, and you think they don't make me feel good, or when I'm around them, the conversations we have, I know they're negative or whatever it may be. I'm sure you know there may be people that instantly come to mind, and it's quite a scary thought to think I've got to just distance myself from them people, because that's not what we're saying. You haven't got to distance yourself from them people, but you've definitely got to be aware of how they're making you feel. And if you have a goal that you're trying to achieve, and they're not necessarily not supporting you through that, but their vision is completely somewhere else, then maybe you don't talk to those people about that goal, or you don't
totally
engage with them.
No, you've got to be really, you know, careful who you share your dreams with as well, because you don't want people that are going to attack it. And there's that whole, you know, tall poppy syndrome thing that people talk about, you know, sometimes, you know, a lot of the time, well, it's that phrase, misery loves company, and people get, you know, they don't want to lose you. So it's not none of it. Some of it isn't actually even particularly conscious. It's just, you know, let's kind of talk her out of that nonsense because we want her to carry on hanging around with us, and it's not actually meant in any way maliciously. It's just like, oh, you know, if it's not for them, people have I've had friends as I said, when I first started doing the Tony Robbins work, a whole group of the girls I used to go out and party with, you know, they thought I joined a cult. They just, they weren't interested. Like, all they liked doing was going out, dancing, you know, big drinkers, party, and that's what they wanted to do. And for me, it was just like, I was finding I was, you know, I think, you know, coming out of a divorce anyway, you reassess your life, don't you? You're like, not that you've done that, but you know what I mean? You're like, okay, what really matters to me? What choices led me to this? What choices led to me to decide, you know, to ending the marriage? And what am I going to do differently? A different life. So, you know,
asking yourself a better question.
Yeah,
it does, doesn't it? It comes down to asking yourself the right questions, or asking yourself a better question.
Yeah, what
because we don't do that, do we? We don't sit there and we just go about it.
No,
we just go about life. We wake up, we do the same thing most days, day in, day out. It's very rare.
And that's
Sorry,
it's until there's a crisis, and a crisis
yes,
makes us rethink.
yes,
But
makes you rethink. Yeah,
as you know, you don't have to do it in crisis. Like you were saying before we got on the call, Jay Shetty, who's got a great following on social media, the former monk, and talks about personal development.
Yeah.
Says, did you say like have a what was the phrase you used then?
I can't remember. What was we talking about?
Regular.
The audit.
Audit, yeah, that was the word.
Yeah. So he talks about auditing your life, or just auditing what it is, that you do. Have an audit on what it is that you do, where it is that you want to go. He talks about auditing everything, to be fair. Step back.
So it's the same thing, isn't it? It's like you audit your accounts at a regular increments. You don't have to wait until all of a sudden you find your £5,000 overdrawn or whatever.
Totally.
We can apply that to our lives, isn't it? You know, it was a great reset for me, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend that you get yourself looking at I'm going to get divorced so I can reassess my life. It's
no, totally.
Of gauging it, the whole, you know, have a thermostat for your life. Am I feeling great? Has my energy dropped?
And if it's dropped, why has it dropped? What maybe has brought me to this place? What have I done that's made me feel this way? So then at least, you know, moving forwards, you'll do less of that.
Absolutely. And if you're around a tribe that you can trust, you can actually ask people, can't you? Say things just don't feel right at the moment. Is there anything that you can think of that I'm doing or not doing that might help me move forward?
And just to finish on that, actually, there's something that I created, and it was just in my you know, something that I sort of made up to a certain degree. I called it the PAB. Someone else recommended this to me, actually, but I used to call it my PAB, which was my personal advisory board. And I selected, I don't know if it was 4 or 5 people that I felt were my personal advisors. So Matt being one of them, one of my best friends, Paula, being another one. There was a few people that I went, right, okay, if I've got a question or if there's something that I've created and I really want their opinion on that, or whatever it may be, but people that I knew had my back regardless. Even if they're not necessarily the same sort of journey as I'm on, or, you know, I'm running my business, they may not have been, but still that they would look at it from sort of my best interests. And it was great, because if anything came up, or if I created a piece of content, or if I wanted to do something, I'd maybe drop them a message and say, what do you think of this? Do you think, is this something that you can relate to? Is this something that you feel, you know, would get a good response, whatever it may be? And that's something you can always do. Maybe just think of it. It doesn't need to be 5 people. It could be 1 or 2 people that you know, that you think, do you know what, I'm going to put that out there. I'm going to ask that question if you're a bit unsure.
And also people that you know that will, you know, give you the tough love that you need as well. Because
definitely,
we need to be nurtured and supported, but we also need people to hold up the mirror for us to really see what's going on.
So, yeah, really,
definitely. Well,
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed this conversation with you
Yeah,
today.
it's been lovely. It's been lovely. We'll be back again next week.
Yes,
Have a lovely day.
you too,
If
my
you need a bit of rest, go and get a bit of rest. If you need a bit of
absolutely.
chocolate, eat a bit of
I
chocolate.
feel a lot better. I knew that this would
Good.
focus me. So yes, I'm going to go out for a walk now and get some fresh air.
Good for you. And we'll catch up soon. Take care, my love. See you
Bye.
later. Bye.